We do not remember days. We remember moments, writes Cesar Pavese. Moments such as when someone chooses to do something as simple as stepping off a curb to join a pickup basketball game, like David Lazerson did so many, many years ago. And what made this moment so memorable is that it became a catalyst for a profound change in a whole community. You see, David Lazerson is an Hasidic Jew, and the game he joined was with a group of young African-American men in the Crown Heights neighborhood of New York City. And so tense and volatile were the relationships between the Hasidic Jews and the African Americans in the Crown Heights neighborhood that David Lazerson's act of stepping off of a curb to join a neighborhood basketball game became the watershed moment in the lives of the Hasidic Jews and African American communities. From that one small moment sprang the joint Hasidic and African American ministry called Project Cure, that is improving the mutual cooperation between the Hasidic Jewish community and the African American community of Crown Heights, and helping those communities take steps toward reconciliation. You see, it became very apparent to these two communities that they did have some things in common, even if it was in the beginning simply a basketball game. And it became apparent that they could work to solve problems, even if in the beginning it was only how to find the open man for a jump shot. It took just one moment for it to happen. But moments like these are happening every day. Moments when yesterday we were one kind of a person, but today we are a totally different person. Like my granddaughter Aubrey, who went from being an only child to being an older sister in the course of one day when her baby brother was born. And still, moments like these are not only for individuals, but are also for communities, because one person changes their life, and it has a ripple effect through their community as the change is felt first by those closest to the person, and then as it moves outward to the edges of the community. And theologian Howard Thurman has called these moments the growing edge. Look well to the growing edge, Thurman writes. All around us, worlds are dying and new worlds are being born. All around us, life is dying, and life is being born. The fruit ripens on the tree. The roots are silently at work in the darkness of the earth against a time when there will be new lives, fresh blossoms, green fruit. Such is the growing edge. It is the extra breath from the exhausted lung, the one more thing to try when all else has failed, the upward reach of life when weariness closes in upon all endeavor. This is the hope in moments of despair, the incentive to carry on when times are out of joint and men and women have lost their reason. It is the source of confidence when worlds crash and dreams whiten into ash. The birth of a child is the growing edge incarnate. And Thurman is absolutely right. For a child's birth is a time of celebration at the culmination of all that is being prepared and anticipating to happen. It is, as every parent and grandparent here knows, a time for new possibilities, new experiences. It truly is the growing edge, because this child, like every child, is different from all other children. And this child, like every child, is unique and will make a difference in the life of a community, similar to the difference that the child Samuel will make in his community of Israel. Certainly Hannah's song of joy or the birth of her child Samuel speaks to the difference the child has made in her life. But it speaks also about the difference her child will make in the life of the people of Israel. Hannah's joy spills out of a prayer of thanksgiving for this child that God has given to her as the gift of answered prayer. But it also becomes quickly a prophetic prayer about how God will be turning around the life of the people of Israel. The bows of the warriors are broken, but those who stumbled are armed with strength. Those who were full hire themselves out for food, but those who were hungry hunger no more. God will be reversing the life situation of people just as God has reversed Hannah's life situation. Once she was Hannah the barren, the woman who was mocked for being childless, but not any longer. Now she is the mother of Samuel, who is dedicated to God, who can and will make radical changes in the life of the people, because that's what God does. And those who think you see that they are in charge, they just might find themselves among the servants. Those who have reached the pinnacle of power and influence may well find they no longer have any power and very little influence. Those who thought they were charting the course of the world may discover they were charting only the destruction of their own little world. Those who are first may discover that they are now last. Change is coming to the people of Israel, and it is change that no one really is yet aware is on the horizon. Samuel will be God's instrument, acting to bring those changes to reality that God intends and those which God will allow to happen. But right now, those who hear Hannah's song only hear the thanksgiving joy of a woman whose prayer God has answered. They don't hear the prophetic word that she has spoken from God. They fail to grasp that Samuel is the growing edge for the people of Israel. They will fail to grasp it even as he stands next to the chief priest Eli, ministering to the people wearing the white linen ephod, what we might call a sleeveless shirt that his mother Hannah has made for him. They will fail to grasp it even as he serves an apprenticeship to become a priest, living, learning, and working under the guidance of the chief priest Eli, who marvels at how faithfully Samuel performs his duties and how charismatic this child is. They will only grasp that Samuel is Israel's growing edge when he leads the people of Israel from being a people tied together in a tribal confederation governed and led by charismatic men and women called judges, to being a people gathered together as the nation Israel and governed by a king charged to be stewards of God's people by governing with God's justice and God's mercy. A king anointed by God, but one who is not above or beyond being faithful to God or above and beyond God's rule and sovereignty. For God will choose this king and will call Samuel to anoint the king while he is still just a shepherd boy named David, tending his father Jesse's flock in the pasture lands. Samuel is the Israelites' growing edge because through him, their lives will change dramatically. But Hannah didn't know any of this on the day she sang her song of thanksgiving and prophetic wonder. All she knew was that he was the answer to a desperate prayer and a promise that was the one last thing that she could do, the extra breath she could take. A prayer and promise expressing her trust that God was the foundation of hope in the moment of her despair, the source of her confidence at a time when her dreams seemed whitened with ash. This was Hannah's growing edge that swept away the tears and the despair, replacing them with joy and thanksgiving when she became pregnant with the child that she will name Samuel, because I asked the Lord for him, and God answered me. And for us, the child Samuel points us to another child, just as Hannah's song points us to the song of another mother. And the child is a child that's going to be born in humble surroundings of a stable in an unimportant backwater town called Bethlehem, to young parents who have traveled far from the village of Nazareth. And this child will grow up in the unimportant village of Nazareth, and yet his parents will find him teaching at the temple at the age of 12. And this is a child who will, as a young man, call a diverse group of men and women to follow him, calling them to leave an old, empty way of living to begin a new life, calling them to their growing edge. For this is what the growing edge is. It is not idle bits of time, but it is the moment when God is calling us to take a new direction in our lives and to see our future in a new way. A moment when God challenges us to live and act on what we say we believe. A moment when God challenges us to respond to the gift of grace God has given us by confronting ourselves and changing our lives. And right now, the growing edge for this community is the growing edge for this community of faith. Now is the time for you to look to the growing edges, for all around us, worlds are dying. New worlds are being born. All around us, life is dying. Life is being born. The roots are silently at work in the darkness of the earth against a time when there will be new lives, fresh blossoms, and green fruit. Last year's informal conversations have planted new seeds of new ideas and ways of being a community of faith in the soils of your imagination. The intensive workshop of last winter has watered the soil of your imaginations with a newly articulated identity statement. And many of you have grasped the opportunity to tend to the planted fields here by making observations about what will be needed to encourage well-being and health in this wide Ontario community, about what will create a way for green shoots to break forth through the ground, to grow tall and strong in the light of a new day that God is creating through the calling of a pastor to come and labor beside you, to come and work the fields with you. And while you look to these growing edges, I remind you to be aware that the harvest you seek will come in God's own time, in God's kairos time. The due time and season when the harvest will be plentiful and the need for workers to gather in the harvest will be great. I ask you to be aware of God's active presence working in your lives, every moment of your lives, and to not see the moments of your lives as unchanging, flowing bits of time that you must simply get through, but to see each moment as new life blossoming forth. I call you, as Howard Thurman advises, to look well to the growing edge, to look well to the new life that is being born among you now. Amen.